Please listen carefully.
Well, hello, universe, and welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Kristy Jansen.
And I'm Summers McKay.
And we're part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to make them one focus on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy podcast. Today is Monday, the 3rd of May, 2021. Well, hello, Kristy. How are you today?
Hi. Home office, huh? That's an interesting concept, Summers. This is speaking of...
Yes.
Is my official going, I'm actually headed to the office in a little bit. I'm recording from home. I've got a wonderful setup now that I'm going to keep installed, and I'll be blending my time between my home office and my regular office as of today.
Yes. How are you feeling about that? Is this a welcome change, or are you still trepidatious? I know you're surprising all of our office mates with their Optimist Daily mugs. None of them are going to hear this before.
I know.
Before they get in. What's the feeling you would use to describe today for you?
It's more anxiety and uncertainty than I'm not excited. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I'm not excited.
Yeah.
I'm more suspicious and worried that it's going to be an uncomfortable transition.
Yeah. I think, as so many people have experienced, we got very used to and we got very good at a different way of being. And now starting to set foot places, there recently was the announcement from the CDC that when you're outside and not in large groups, no mask is needed, and so when I see people in parking lots walking to the store without their mask on and then putting their mask on as they get into the store, like your initial reaction is, wait, are they an anti-masker? What's happening? And then it's like, no, some of these rules in the United States where we are beginning to get a handle on this have eased. And so when you're in the office, you're going to have that moment of panic, right? When you guys are kind of in the kitchen, right? And everybody's lined up to get their coffee. That's going to feel really different. And, it's not everybody, right? It's not a full house, but it's going to be a few people where all of a sudden you are sharing approximate physical space with somebody who's not in your household. And that's going to be kind of different. And I think if we are all just really patient with one another and know, I was joking in our pre-record call that 2021 needs a help desk because we don't know how to function in May of 2021 because we're out of practice. We don't know how to do it.
Yeah, we're out of practice, and I feel like I'm sure it'll feel more natural quickly, but that's my first blush is a little bit of anxiety, and I'll let you know how it goes.
Well, I salute you from my very remote, far away office with nobody but my cat and dog in it. I'm happy that you do get to go back. I know that there is anxiety around it, but this is also something that you have been looking forward to. And I know it will end up being a more pleasant experience than the anxiety perhaps might make you feel. And I think there's also, from Friday's podcast, we talked about the benefits of optimism, and it is a choice, right? There's the pragmatic optimism that you can really muscle in to get this. And I think everybody, as a world, we are moving forward with sort of pragmatic optimism. It's good things are ahead. I have to think good things are ahead. I'm the CEO of the Optimist Daily, and I guess you have to too, because you're the chief content officer. So speaking of content and optimism, was there any content on the Optimist Daily today, Kristy, that you wanted to talk about?
There was, and there's a lot of great stories. I've been really impressed by the things that we're writing about, Amelia and all of our writers. I'm so thrilled with you guys. But today, the one I wanted to highlight, the headline reads, Mangrove Restoration Expands Carbon Credit Benefits to Coastal Kenya. And the reason I wanted to highlight this is that the idea of carbon credits are a little bit controversial in some corners of the environmental movement because the idea of offsetting one major emitter's carbon with another, like a carbon sink project, is not, the idea isn't to allow the emissions to keep going.
To continue, right? It's not
continue.
fixing, it doesn't feel like it's fixing the problem. It's
right.
Yeah.
The idea of forgiving emissions. But I think as we transition to a greener energy profile, a greener manufacturing profile, a greener transportation profile, we still need to create these carbon sinks all over the world. And if there's a way to do it in a way that also supports the people who will benefit from it, I think it's fantastic. And this one is a really positive story, a positive solution-based story about how the mangrove forests around the Kenyan village of Gazi were greatly depleted. They had been used for firewood and just kind of used up without a consciousness of the value of supporting the local economy.
Well, and when we think about deforestation, oftentimes you don't think about mangrove deforestation, right? It's not the logical alignment of, oh, clear cutting the trees in the Amazon. Well, the mangroves, you can't clear cut mangroves either.
Right. And they're actually a really important resource. They're powerful carbon sinks. They protect against coastal storm surges. They serve as homes to hundreds of species of fish and breeding grounds for those fish and other biodiversity. So they're really an important part of an entire ecosystem and also an entire economic system. And what was happening in this coastal village in Kenya, it was that the folks living there didn't have a sense of value, and they were just using the resources at their disposal, and it didn't have any other economic benefit. But with the carbon credit reforestation project, which has been going on, today the village has turned over a new leaf in relation to their mangrove forest compared to 8 years ago. They're now thriving again. Poaching has fallen in the neighborhood and the area by 90% over the last 6 years. And the fisheries have come back. And this is because of the carbon credit reforestation. So they're investing in these coastal wetlands, and it's having so many benefits for the local villagers. It's a project that was set up by the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Institute and Scottish Plan Vivo Foundation. They teamed up to create a profitable carbon offset initiative for the local residents. And under this program, they planted casuarina tree lots as an alternative source for wood, for construction and for firewood. So they created forests that were specifically to use for the local construction needs and for firewood. And then residents received environmental education about the economic and planetary benefits of conserving the mangrove. So it's sort of a step beyond ecotourism. It's this like economic investment. And then the residents got together, the villagers, they started helping to repopulate the mangrove forests with the saplings that were contributed by the Kenya Marine Fisheries Institute and the Scottish Plan Vivo Foundation. Today, the village trades 3,300 tons of captured carbon from its mangrove forests as carbon credits. This gives them a bit of a livelihood in exchange for that conservation. And with that resource, they've been able to build a new health center, school, boreholes for fresh water, and their entire economy has shifted and turned around, and it's a much healthier place to be. So I just think this is a interesting solution, and this is a one spot where this is working. And if we could scale this up around the world in different communities, depending on what the resource might be, here it's mangroves, it might be some other kind of forest, it might be some other kind of rangeland even. And so I like this solution. That's why I wanted to.
I'm glad you picked it. It harkens back to what we talk about a lot on the Optimist Daily, that when you fix one thing, other things can grow, right? Like when we improve education in a certain area, all of the positive effects from education and resources that can come to it lift the whole community. And so in this instance, the carbon credit exchange offers a financial impact that actually lifts the benefit of the entire community. And so I think while the carbon credit conversation is definitely a controversial one, I love that this story really illuminates the actual overall lift and value of this program. So it takes it out of the, well, that's good or that's bad. And instead it says, well, what are the repercussions and opportunities that come from this? So it's a great story.
So speaking of investing in new
Yes.
ways in
Yes.
sort of the environmental positives, what's your story that you wanted to
All
highlight
right.
today?
Well, it should come as no surprise that the headline today for me on the Optimist Daily was about little ones and preschool. My headline reads, "The Educational Benefits of Universal Preschool." Let me couch this by saying that I have unbelievable respect for those people who homeschool or choose to do different methods of teaching and raising their families. There's no one right way, but there are right options, right? There have to be options for people to choose the right way for their family. One of the components of the newly proposed American Families Plan is the institution of universal public preschool. Throughout most of the United States, preschool is actually private, optional education, and public schools are really only available starting in kindergarten. However, education experts, as well as families everywhere, have reported the tremendous benefits for students in early preschool. Now, preschool certainly provides socialization, emotional and social skills. I have a little one who spent a year without ever seeing anyone under the age of 16 to now being just surrounded by tons of little children, and she shouts with joy whenever she sees a big kid walk by. She says, big kids play." But interacting with peers on a daily basis and practicing like basic skills, listening, waiting for your turn, sharing, can really help increase a child's emotional intelligence. It actually can help prepare them for the tasks that they will approach in kindergarten as well as life. So patience and being respectful with one another. Preschool also sort of lays the foundation for a lot of brain development and can help children with reading, mathematics, language skills. It's just really, really valuable for children. And one of the tricky things I think that parenting often presents you with is this idea that sending your child to preschool means you aren't caring for them. You're not doing the best for them. You're giving them to preschool because you have to, because of work. Well, if universal preschool were becoming, if universal preschool became real, I think that would really lift some of the emotional burden from parents feeling like they weren't doing the right thing for their children. It also will help free parents up to go have a fiscal impact and have opportunities for improving their family's, experience.
And honestly, I think the people that this will help the most are those who really need it.
Yes.
And many professional level folks who have the resources, they definitely use preschool. I mean, you and your husband are using preschool, and that's something that you find really valuable. And Brennan loves it, and it enriches all of your lives, and it allows you to have the enriched career world that is part of who you are. Right.
And that I'm so fortunate to be able to.
There are so many families where that's also a necessary part of the world. That's just how it is these days. It's not like we have farms and everybody just works from their home, although everybody does work from their home.
But you can't work with a preschooler at home.
The stress of having to figure out how to find safe and effective care. I mean, we all saw this year when school shut down, how stressful that is to actually have your kids 100% with you and also have to do a job. This is just a statement of the reality of the situation. So it's great for the kids, but it's also really good for the parents who are, most of whom are working and are part of our economy. And in other countries in the industrialized world, this is a sort of what you do. And I know in France, they have creches, they have daycare. It's just part of the world. And it allows the population to be contributing on many different levels, and it's super supportive of the families. So I think this is a great solution.
It is also an equalizer. We talk often about in order to increase diversity and representation in leadership in companies, you have to start at the beginning, or in leadership in business policy, increasing the opportunity and offering equivalent education opportunities from the very beginning has a positive effect. Kids who attend preschool are less likely to drop out of school, less likely to repeat a grade. They are more likely to do better in school. And so preschool, which is largely available to those who can afford it at this time, actually begins right there, very early on, begins a separating of haves and have-nots. And universal preschool would allow this to no longer, it will help us build a more diverse, representative funnel from the very base of our education system. And that, I think, is a really important thing to remember as well.
Yeah, so I like this article. I'm glad that you chose it, Summers. I think it's important to think about. And when you think about supporting the actual individuals in those families and not the traditional breadwinner model where there's a stay-at-home mother, which isn't a realistic model of family in terms of majority of families in our country.
Like we don't know how to work 2021, but we know that stay-at-home moms in 2021 are few and far between. It's not very common.
I mean, that's a wonderful model if it works for you, but it doesn't work for everybody, and it's not how our society is really set up, and it's not how the world is set up.
Yeah. So, we didn't talk about it, but Kristy, there was a article that came out that LinkedIn is now offering stay-at-home mom as a job title. And I just thought that was fantastic. I just want to sort of put that out there because this also allows women to value or stay-at-home parent, right? It allows the unpaid work and the work in the family to be valued and credited as work. This is a whole system that needs to be readdressed and refocused. And I'm
so glad you brought that up because our whole sort of financial economy is built on the back of the unpaid domestic labor, whether it's the stay-at-home mother or the grandmother or the big sisters or big brothers who are taking care of the kids while the parents are occupied.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I mean, having a wife allowed these, the breadwinner model to go off and just be the worker, it's hard to do that when you're also a breadwinner.
Right. So I think that this opportunity, and remember, it's all about options. Like, we are not preaching that everybody should send their kid to preschool. I have family members who homeschool who do a beautiful job at that, and I'm so proud of their experience. I just can't pull it off myself. This is about making sure the options are available. Anyway, we could go on and on. It's Monday, Kristy. We super duper should probably get to work and stop chatting with one another.
I know, I got to get in the car.
I feel like we might be like procrastinating your drive into the office, but that's okay. We will send you on your way. There are a couple other stories on the Optimist Daily. Well, there are many others, but a few others I want to just highlight. There is a Ugandan startup that's turning banana waste into eco-friendly products. A low-cost filter fits directly onto jerry cans to provide potable water. A campaign that's encouraging dog owners to clean up while they walk. I agree with that one. What else, Kristy?
Sugi's Healing Forest Project that helps inmates reconnect with the land. Help India Breathe and other organizations are providing COVID-19 aid to our friends in the Indian subcontinent, which is, I feel bad every time I look at the news there. And Epicurious moves away from beef recipes in favor of plant-based options. This is another controversial, the banning of red meat, which I've personally made that choice to stop as much as I can eating animal products, but that doesn't mean that there's not a place for that. But I think it's an interesting acknowledgement of the importance of focusing on plant-based diets. And there's
just
lots of tremendous, lots of tremendous options there, and I feel really great that I've been doing that myself. But that is what we've got on today's Optimist Daily. There's more stories there. Go check it out on the optimistdaily.com. And thank you, everybody, for listening to today's Optimist Daily update. We promise to keep sharing these kinds of positive, solution-based news stories with ideas on how you can participate in the changing world, help ensure it is changed for the good. If you have the means, please consider becoming an emissary on the optimistdaily.com. And for just $5 a month or a little more if you have the wherewithal, you can help support reader-funded independent journalism and be a part of the solution-changing consciousness that addresses our world's biggest challenges with that problem-solving mindset. Please help us keep the Optimist Daily free for everyone who needs it, supported by those of us who can. Thanks, everybody. We will be back tomorrow with more solutions.
Have a great day at work, Kristy.
Thank you.